On August 13th, 2018, the world heard Chris Watts plea for his family's safe return on local and national news.
I have no idea where they went.
But just 2 days later, he admitted to the unthinkable. He had murdered all three of them. Since then, the story has captivated the world. But what has never been told is the story of those who shared the last happy moments with Chris and his daughters. This week, we sit down with Jeremy and Jennifer Lindstrom, close friends with Chris and Shanann.
I've replayed that birthday party in my head 1,000 times.
Did you guys take a bunch of pictures that evening?
Oh, yeah.
I have a picture of him standing in the background of my kid blowing out a candle.
So when you see that picture and you see him, is it a different Chris Watts than you knew?
Every time I look at that photo, his face changes, and now it's like, that's a creepy fucking picture. That's the image that's in my brain.
This is their exclusive interview.
Special thank yous to Truth Talks Media and Chad for giving us full permission to use this interview and to discuss it on our channel tonight. Please take a moment and check out their link below in the description box and subscribe. Make sure and tell them Team UnJustified sent you. Wow. Y'all, I made a boo-boo. We've already did this once, but I forgot to hit live, so I truly apologize to everyone. We've actually been here for 15, 20 minutes just talking backstage where we thought we was talking to you guys.
That's okay.
Oh, sorry.
We had a good talk with you guys. You guys just couldn't hear it.
Yeah, we was wondering why nobody was talking back to us, but, we just thought maybe they weren't interested in talking tonight.
That's all right. It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
We were so excited to get to you guys.
Okay, y'all. So you see, we've got Larry and we've got Dave with us tonight. This interview, a lot of people has not seen this. This is from last summer or fall, I can't remember, from Truth Talks Media. It's a very, very interesting interview. And I've got full permission from them to use this footage in case anybody is, oh, yes, I'm going to report it. Check it out. Full permission from the owner to use this. So before you strike it, there you go. Read it, screenshot it. I don't care what you do, but I got full permission. Also, Truth Talk Media is awesome, y'all. I've got it pinned up top. They're in the description box. They do exclusive interviews. Go subscribe to them. Tell them you're from Team UnJustified.
Awesome job, Kim. That's awesome that you did that and that they were able to, that you guys collaborate like that. That's really, I love seeing that.
Oh, yeah, there's some really good creators out there. There's a select few. I don't even know if they're creators or just shit stirrers, but they're out there too. But the actual really good creators, man, they hang together and they watch each other and they support each other.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's my goal. That's been my goal since I started my little channel. And
Thank you so much, Sharon. I really appreciate that. This has been a really shitty day. Just to say the
I was
least.
going to say that's really nice of Sharon. I know it's been a tough day for Kim. So
yeah, she's not in the best of frames of mind. Everybody, we'll get into it after the video. What actually happened with Kimberly overnight and a few other channels. So she's not alone. This is what's happened has actually happened to a few channels. So I'll leave it up to Kim when we actually start the video, but and she'll give you a build up and a lead up to the video herself. And I'm very honored to have been asked to accompany Larry to be here to go over the video. Once the video has been played, then we'll all be having a discussion about it and other things, of course.
I agree with Dave. Thank you so much, Kim, for having me up too. And all your
Absolutely. Thank you for being
I know
here.
I'm very new to all this, as you all know. So not the most tech savvy, or well, tech I am, but not the most YouTube savvy, I guess, person. So when you guys get
Oh,
into
yeah.
that discussion, you'll see I'm still a little worried and nervous, and not
Well,
nervous at all. I think you have nothing to worry about at all, but I'm just more like wondering what, as a new, I guess you could call me a creator. I never thought of that, but new little channel there. I'm playing around, and I guess I got to be careful. I guess just to watch out. I didn't
oh
know that,
yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's YouTube. I think you just have some trolls that are clearly lately targeted. Well, seems like they have been you for some reason for a while. When I
Oh
first
yeah,
started this thing, I remember
oh
that
yeah,
that first con artist on the show.
yeah.
So it sounds like
Well,
people are for some reason targeting you, but that means you're doing something right. Okay.
Well,
Larry, I've heard some things. I don't know. All I know is what I got, and that's what I read. And I hear I've got a different discovery. I don't even know that that's true, but I hear that they don't like that. So whatever.
Yeah,
Oh well.
well, yeah, too bad. I mean, if it's the authorities that don't like it, well, guess what? You shouldn't have released it. But nonetheless, it's none of their business now. You have a public document.
we'll get to it after the live.
Right. Okay, guys, what we're going to do, thank you so much, my little niece, Ashley. Thank you, sweetheart. What we're going to do is we're going to play this interview, and we're not going to talk through it because Dave and Larry are too, and I'm sure some of you others have not heard this. It's very interesting. If you'll remember, the Lindstrom son was the one that said he just pictured them sitting in a hole somewhere. The Lindstroms interview was very, very interesting. Their first one, and this is a follow-up to it. So we're just going to let it play through. We're not going to talk, but we'll keep an eye on the chat, of course. If you need us, we're going to be here. We're not leaving. So we're here, but we're just going to let you listen to it because we feel like it would be better if you heard it all instead of us chiming in here and there, So.
I have my popcorn ready. I'm excited for this.
All right. Well, now remember, we're all here. We're in the chat, but we're listening as well. So, okay. Thank you so much, Sherry. God, everybody's so nice tonight. You see, y'all are why the support, the love outweighs the hate on YouTube. All you creators, remember that. When you start getting attacked, the support will outweigh the hate. It has for me every time.
I agree. I never thought in the world. My fiance looks at me sometimes like, "What the? Who are you talking to? This crazy guy in Australia from YouTube?" I'm like, that's I tell her, I'm like, that's my friend Dave.
Yeah.
Like, I've met really good people, all of you. I mean, yes, there's some, we see it, but think
Right.
about it. It's literally a smidget of all the people that I've met in your chats. I mean, sometimes I'm sure you see, because you've been doing shows a lot longer than me. You look at
Oh,
the
yeah.
chat sometimes, and people are having conversations with each other, and they know each other, and they're excited to see ech other. It's honestly, it sounds corny, but
yeah.
it's a really
It really is.
good community.
It really is. There's just a limited few bad apples that like to multiply with fake accounts, I guess. I just don't know. It's sad, really. It's almost sad. I almost feel sorry for them, just to be honest.
I agree. It is. But you know what? You just got to push past it and, have that tough Aussie skin.
Right. Okay, well, let's get this show on the road, y'all. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Here we go.
Lindstrom here with us tonight, and we're going to be talking about the Chris Watts story. You guys have intimate details. Potentially the last person to actually see Chris and the girls alive. Is that correct?
Yes.
We want to kind of go into your aspect of the story, and as it's told in a first person, there's a whole lot of information and detail that you guys have, some of which I don't think has actually been shared before. And so we want to kind of dive into this story. Obviously, the anniversary is coming up. It's been a big story around the country, and a lot of people are really interested in it. So we are very appreciative that you guys are here to actually hear this story firsthand from the people that actually probably saw them last. So introduce yourself.
I'm Jeremy Lindstrom.
And how do you know the what?
I know them because I worked with both of them.
Okay, go into a little bit of that for me. Worked with him as in how? What was your relationship with him?
Chris was a very good mechanic, master technician. Shanann was a salesperson at the dealership I was at. Met them there. They don't have family that live in Colorado, neither do we. So we kind of struck off a little bit of a family friendship. They would come over to our house for birthday parties, our kids' birthday parties, Father's Day, Super Bowls, sporadic football games because they were big Pittsburgh Steeler fans. So, and we're from San Diego, so Chargers fans. If
Right.
they ever played, we were together for that game. They would have parties at their house for Steelers parties, and we'd go over and watch the game with them, and just random barbecues throughout the summer.
So your initial contact was through work, though.
Absolutely.
And what about you, Jennifer? How did you know them?
Through Jeremy. He met them both at work, and he said, hey, there's this nice couple, and they just moved out here, and they don't have any family, and we should go out to dinner with them and hang out. And then after that, we just started hanging out with them regularly. And
So I kind of want to go back and forth between the two of you because I really want to set the stage. There's a whole lot of documentation on this story. And in the documentation of the story, there is kind of a common theme, really, that most people didn't think this guy was capable of this.
No, absolutely not.
So I kind of want to get your perspective, when you first met him, kind of when you first got to know the guy and so on and so forth, and know Shanann, because part of this story is, and you'd said it before a little bit, most people think that you knew him first, but you actually knew Shanann better.
Yes.
So I kind of want to get that perspective on this. So I want you both, we'll start with you, kind of how you knew him first, and then I want to get your perspective on what you thought of both Chris and Shanann.
Shanann was very detail-oriented, very OCD in a way, right? Chris was mow the lawn, clean out the garage. It was a very old-school, traditional family value in their house. Chris was a mechanic. Shanann was a mother, right? Like, very traditional along a lot of those. I told her one day at work, hey, I want to meet with you every Monday at 1 o'clock. Let's go through your customers. Let's see what I can help you with. Let's see what I can do. She would show up in my office, whether I was ready or not, with her phone. My alarm went off.
Yeah.
She would hold me accountable for our meetings. And Chris was meticulous with everything. That kid was one of the best mechanics I've ever seen fixing cars. He had a passion for what he did fixing cars at the store as a service guy. One day for his birthday, she bought him a supercharger for his Mustang. Like, would you think anything different? No. She knew what he loved. He knew what she loved. It worked, right? Everything worked. He is a hardworking kid. Anything she said to do, he would do it. 100% of the time. Hey, my parents are going to move out here. You're going to fly out to the East Coast, and you're driving the moving truck back, and they're going to fly home. He's like, I'm good with that. I'll drive the truck so they can fly home. They don't have to ride in the truck, right? This is the kid that did this. So there's no way, shape, or form would I ever believe this could happen.
Well, there's certainly a consensus with a lot of the stuff that's out there that is a very accurate description from a lot
100%.
of people. How did you feel about the two?
pretty much the same. Like Shanann was always, like from the moment I met her, she was always super outgoing and super friendly. She wanted to, you know, when we first met her, she didn't have any kids yet, and she was, but you could tell that they really wanted to have kids, and she was really interested in, you know, our girls and what, you know, what they liked, and wanted to spend time with them. And then she got pregnant with her oldest, Bella, and you could tell that that was, you know, always her dream, is to have kids. And
Exciting moment.
yes,
Nothing seemed odd.
Well, she wasn't even sure she could have kids, right?
yeah, they did have, I know, some fertility problems with the first two, and
That she discussed with you?
yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay.
yeah, she just always really wanted to be a mom, and she loved, like, when she was pregnant, she would always be excited about, oh, I'm, you know, decorating the baby's nursery, and this is the theme I chose, and I got all the clothes ready, and they're all washed and hung up, and but I'm only 4 months pregnant, and
So very type A, like Jeremy
Oh,
just
absolutely.
described.
yeah, very
Absolutely.
organized and just always like ready to go. Like what's the next thing? And she just always had something going on that she could really dive into and be involved in, and just
And consistently that way every time you met him.
oh yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
So tell me how often that you guys did get together. I know we talked about some football games and some parties, which we're going to get to the one party, which was the night before. But prior to that, did you hang out on a pretty regular basis?
Regular as in maybe 6-8 times a year,
Okay.
depending on stuff. If I ever invited them to something, they showed up.
Yeah.
It's just, if they invited us to something, we showed up. It was just how we lived, 2 miles from each other?
So she worked with you. Did you develop a relationship with him?
Yes and no.
Well, you
right?
know, when,
Like,
when you go to parties a lot of times and you're hanging out, the men will kind of go over to one side, women will kind of do their thing.
Yeah.
Were you with him one-on-one a lot?
No,
Not so much.
no, he would come over, and his main goal was my food. Whatever I barbecued, whatever I smoked up, whatever I cooked, whatever we put out, he was like, I'm coming over because I know there's food,
Right.
right? But he spent a lot of time with the kids.
Yes.
Shanann was more, hey, how can I help clean? What can I cook? What can I do? She needed to be involved in the party, right? Chris was involved in the kids and making sure they were taken care of, they were okay, right? Like, that's just how it always happened. Hey, they wouldn't leave. Shanann's like, I want to help clean the kitchen. I want to help put the dishes away. I want to do this. Like, that was normal. As normal as could be with really good friends.
Consistently every time, too.
100%.
100%. So there was nothing early on where you were like, wow, this is an interesting type of dynamic relationship. It was actually one of those just really good old-fashioned school relationships.
No, this was a relationship that people would probably wish for. With what she demanded in life and his acceptable personality, fit.
Which is really interesting because it sets up a story that's almost unfathomable anyway, and we're going to get to that because we've talked off camera about this before, and this is what makes the story so intriguing to me, because it is very difficult to place, and we're going to ask you a lot of those questions because I know you feel the same way. So leading up to that night, I want to jump right into the night before. They're at your house.
Birthday.
The birthday. Describe that party. That's the night before.
Extremely normal. We invited Chris because we knew Shanann was out of town. They talked, and we knew she wasn't going to be there.
Now, she was in Arizona.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you talk to her while she was in Arizona?
No, I did not, but my daughter did because she had actually babysat the girls the night before the birthday party.
Correct.
So Chris could go to
Baseball game.
alleged baseball game.
Right.
Which I invited him to the Broncos game because I received tickets. And he told me he couldn't go because his work would be mad if he didn't use the tickets.
And this was the night before, the
Yeah.
party.
Yes.
Yeah, this was literally Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sunday
so
was the
let's just
party.
start there. So the night before your party, you had invited him to the Bronco game.
I invited him a few days earlier, and that's when he texted me back, oh, I can't go. I got tickets to the Rockies game, and
I need
if
a
I don't use
babysitter.
them, my work's going to be mad that I didn't use them. And I get that because that's 100% normal conversation. Because if my work gave me their season tickets for the Broncos, and they saw they didn't get scanned in, somehow they know.
Yeah.
They know they didn't get used. Or if they find out they didn't get used, you're never getting tickets again.
So we know in hindsight, though, that he had taken this mistress
Yes.
to the game.
Right.
But you did not know that.
No.
Your friends, but did they have any other friends that they were really, really close to that they did a lot of things with?
The Thrive friends, but we didn't know any of them. But I heard Shanann would talk about them.
But you guys had never heard any marital problems. Neither one of them had
No.
discussed any of that.
None of the marital, none of the financial, none of any of that.
On the surface, it's just like, this is the perfect family.
Yes.
Okay. So again, hindsight, we find this out. But you invite him. He says he's going to go to this game.
Normal excuse, normal everything. I don't think anything, I have zero radar of this kid ever lying to me. Zero radar, right?
Yeah.
And so when he said, oh, the work's going to get mad if I don't use these tickets, I get it.
Right.
I've been there. I
Makes
understand
sense.
that. Makes 100% sense. And I invited him because I thought I remembered him saying one time he'd never actually been to a live NFL game. So I was like, I thought of him right out of the gate. I'm like, why not? I know that she's out of town, and before she had went to before she went to North Carolina, she's like, hey, make sure you call him and hang out with him. I don't want him doing anything dumb while I'm gone.
Now, when
Right.
did she leave to go to North Carolina? That was prior to.
That was what, 5 weeks before.
Maybe, yeah,
Okay.
at the like more towards the beginning of the summer.
Right.
She had,
Did we think it was weird she was leaving for 5 weeks with the kids to North Carolina? Sure.
yeah.
Yes.
But Shanann's personality didn't lead down any paths of marital issues or anything, right?
Well, this is why we're getting your story, because you guys have a really interesting perspective on the story. Because again, knowing people, being friends. Now, there's a lot of times in relationships people don't tell their personal stuff, right?
Sure.
Right.
But it was odd that she had left. But still, in your mind, because you'd seen them interact so well together, the 5 weeks is just 5 weeks. You thought maybe
Yeah.
she's type A. She's going to go do whatever she's going to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Get me to the party the night before. Your
My
party.
son's birthday party.
Yes.
He came over like they have for the last 4 years, right? They came over. He shows up. He's got the diaper bags. He's got the girls, you know. And it was normal conversation with Shanann. It was, hey, Chris is going to bring the girls over. Of course, nothing out of the blue. We're playing in the backyard. The girls are running around playing. They're playing in the little swimming pool.
Was he on time?
Give or take, there was no time.
Well, I mean, he was a little bit later, but he had mentioned when he got there that the girls had just woken up from their nap. And
And nap was very important. Shanann
Yeah.
had these girls on a
On a
schedule.
schedule.
Okay, so they were on schedule.
Yeah.
So nothing there was odd. It's
No.
just
Nope.
they were taking a nap
Yeah.
and then they showed up. Okay.
Yep.
They were-
And we
all their,
were playing water balloons in the backyard. Chris was throwing water balloons. The girls were throwing water balloons. They were all normal kids' birthday party. Nothing crazy, right?
Do you see why I ask these questions? Because on the outside, it's extremely difficult. And because you guys have this really intimate knowledge, this is why it's really an interesting topic. And I'm trying to make sure that we don't skip anything or miss anything. Because I think you guys would have caught it. You know him pretty intimately. So he's out there
If
playing.
anything was off.
yeah.
Say that again?
If anything was off, absolutely we would have seen something.
Correct. But he would be out there playing with the water balloons, because we talked about it earlier where you're like, he would kind of migrate towards where the kids are at.
Yep.
Okay. So he's out playing with the kids, nothing out of the normal. He was a little bit late, but there's a nap. We kind of know that.
Right. Well, and
Okay.
at the same time, this is the first time we've seen one of them without the other. So we wouldn't have anything to judge off of.
Okay.
But it was still normal, like with the kids. But then when we got to the birthday cake, he was standing in there. He knew that the girls had allergies. She knows more about what their allergies were, but he didn't let them have cake. He didn't let them have certain things because he knew they had allergies, right? We got them popsicles out of the garage because they could have popsicles. And then shortly after the cake, it was time for them to go home because their bedtime is 7-ish o'clock.
Again, on schedule.
On schedule.
So let me ask
100%.
you a question. When you were talking about the birthday cake, when he tells you they can't have it because of their allergies, was it just a sincere, I mean, was there anything about that where you would be like, okay, that's odd, or anything like that?
No, because, I mean, we knew the kids had allergies, and he just said, I'm sorry, they can't have cake, and you could tell that they were disappointed, so that at that point I said, okay, well, we have, just ice pops in the freezer outside.
And was that conversation the same conversation you'd always had with him?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Every birthday party's been the same. They can't have the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was not abnormal by any means.
Yeah, I've replayed that birthday party in my head 1,000 times
Yes.
since then, just to see, like, was there something that we missed that, we could,
We haven't had his birthday party at our house since then.
Well, so one of the things that I certainly wanted to ask is, obviously at a birthday party, you're taking pictures. Did you guys take a bunch of
Yes.
pictures that evening?
oh, yeah.
And tell me anything about the pictures. Was there anything about the pictures that stood out to be different?
No. Not well. Here's so in my mind, and I have the picture and I can send it to you now. Somebody tried to steal it off my Facebook page from another media source, right? And I had them take it down, and they did take it down. But I have a picture of him standing in the background of my kid blowing out a candle, right? And it's probably the most awkward, lack of better words, just that's the image that's in my brain of him blowing out his candles and Chris standing behind him and the girl standing on the side with Bella looking up and over trying to watch him blow out his candles. Right? That's my last image of them.
So when you see that picture and you see him, is it a different Chris Watts than you knew?
You keep looking at it and his face changes, right? Every time I look at that photo, his face changes, and now it's like, that's a creepy fucking picture.
Yeah.
Right? Like for real.
He truly looks evil in that picture.
Yes.
Truly.
That
in the
is
beginning,
so interesting.
absolutely not. Now, absolutely. Right?
Because
Like what she said.
and the way his eyes, he's just like slightly looking up at like towards the camera, just with like no soul in his eyes.
Did you have the same visceral response as Jeremy did?
Yeah.
When you saw that picture?
Yeah, and it was the same too when we saw him being in his infamous porch interview after everything happened.
Right.
He looked and sounded different in that interview. Like it wasn't him. It was him obviously, but he looked and sounded different.
So
and same
you
with that
almost
picture.
knew then, because we're going to get to this in a little bit, because
Yeah.
you haven't kept up quite as much as
Yeah.
she has.
Right.
in there.
And
So-
I'm probably one of 3 supporters that thought that news interview was not what everybody else saw. Right? When you're inside the bubble and you don't want to believe things, you still don't see things.
Well, I'm going to get to that because I'm going to really hammer that hard because especially with, you were there, you were at the house, but I'm going to bring that up in just a second. So as with anybody that goes to a birthday party or anything, there comes that moment where it's time to go. And obviously Shanann's not there, who would have cleaned up and made sure all that happened. Was there any anxiety, anything, or was the departure also what you would consider normal?
Extremely normal.
Was it, come on girls, let's get in the car? I mean, what was
Yeah.
that?
It was bedtime's coming up, right?
Yeah.
We know that. We know Shanann's schedule. Like, she has a schedule, and if you tell us it's her schedule, we're going to say,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
right? That's okay, right? And we don't.
Yeah. Well, and they stayed a long time too. It's not like they were there and left in 30 minutes.
Well, that's what I want to know.
they
The
were
party
there
started how long were they there?
probably for 3 hours.
Yeah, was it 3 or 4 hours normal?
They were there for
And that would be normal.
Yeah, they were there for the playing and the eating and the cake and the presents. Like they're in all, during a party you take a series of pictures like of the kids playing, of the presents and the cake. They're in all of those events that happened at the party, and then they just
And he doesn't drink or anything,
Yeah.
right?
so they just said, all right, well
Nothing.
we've got to get going.
So he had nothing to drink.
No, he doesn't.
He
He
doesn't
doesn't drink. Not his thing.
Yeah. Very, very, very fascinating because again, this is kind of the story I think that a lot of people have never heard before.
Right.
And it's a real interesting thing because again, we can all put ourselves in that situation and know what is coming down the pipeline here. You would absolutely think that there would be something out of place or something not right.
Yeah, there's no way in my brain that this kid said, hey, can't wait to marry that girl so we can have kids and kill them all.
Yeah.
Right? That didn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
that's not how that works, I guess. Like,
Are you convinced that, obviously I think we know through, what investigations have taken place that it was pre-planned. He knew he was going to do that.
based on all the stuff I've heard since then, apparently, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
kind
how
of the consensus.
how can anybody freaking go to a kid's birthday party knowing that, hey, hurry up? Why would you protect the cake? Like, all that shit goes through my head, right?
Right.
Why would you care that they're allergic to something if you're about to take them home and freaking do what you did?
Yeah.
That doesn't work, right?
It doesn't, which is kind of that gap of speculation. Did the guy really intend to do it while he was at the birthday party? Did he?
According to his post interviews that I've seen, it was weeks before. I believe the kid, maybe I'm going too far into the story, but when he got with this other girl and got to go camping and got to go to the Shelby Museum, which he's a big Ford mechanic, right?
Yeah.
That's his passion, was Ford mechanics. His passion wasn't the oil field. It was the Ford mechanic. It was going camping, going to the Shelby Museum, going to all these Moab and everywhere else he got to go in that 5 weeks period of time, probably is what transformed his brain to a lifestyle that he didn't have, that he didn't know existed, and then wanted.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of speculation to that,
Right.
and kind of how that transition went. I mean, there are certainly a ton of interviews. Here at Truth Talks, we don't want to, we don't want to put everybody else's perspective into this because it's really about you guys telling the
Yeah.
story. But there is certainly some perspective that it had been going on for a while. The thought process was there, and then obviously we did it. That's why it's so interesting to know that you guys saw them the night before.
Yeah.
That was what was really interesting. One of the other things we want to talk about is, again, when you hear that, your daughter babysat for them.
Yes.
That's got to be a little chilling too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and her story was when she babysat the night for the baseball game, right? When she came home, she had mentioned the pantry was a mess, like the house was a mess. It was not clean anymore. It was not organized anymore. There was zero regard for everything that Shanann does at the house, right? She's like,
Right.
I've never seen that house that dirty. Stuff was everywhere.
And that is interesting because that's the whole reason why I wanted to bring that up is there was something awry that as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And your daughter noticed that
Yeah.
Right?
and brought that to your attention. So we know that, man, it is really structured how they live their life, but yet she noticed that there was something not right.
Right?
Yeah.
And was there anything else that she said?
Yes, it was about the allergies. So when I picked her up, she said that, everything went good. She said that, I said, well, how did bedtime go? Because I know if she would to be babysitting her brother, bedtime wouldn't go good. He wouldn't want
Right.
to go to sleep. And, but I know, they have a very regimented schedule. So she said that Cece went to bed pretty easily on time, but then Bella went to bed and then came downstairs and said she wasn't tired yet, wasn't ready to go to bed. And through some conversation that she had with Bella had mentioned that her sister can't have coconuts, and that she does have coconuts, that she won't be able to see her anymore. So that really stood out to my daughter, and she thought that was kind of sad that she, had thought that in her little mind, but
Possibly
Yeah.
someone had told her if she has an allergic reaction to it
Yes.
that they could
Yeah.
die or something like
yeah.
that.
So it's probably just so that she would know to, help watch out so
Yeah.
that she doesn't eat the wrong foods. But then, eventually Bella settled down and went to sleep. Another strange thing was that Chris, when she got there, Chris ordered pizza and said the girls have already had all their medications, because my daughter was a little worried, like, am I going to have to give them medications at certain times? Am I going to have to give them nebulizer treatments because they have asthma? So she was worried about the medications and giving them the right medications. But he said, no, they're all good. I gave them their medications. You just have to feed them and put them to bed. They were already in their pajamas. Chris didn't leave his phone number with her, and she didn't leave her phone number with him. It wasn't like a conversation. And he didn't contact Jeremy or any of us to ask how the girls were doing. But Shanann, who was in Arizona, contacted our daughter to check on the girls and asked her to send pictures of them.
So Shanann must have known that he was at the game.
Yeah, she
Just
knew.
not
Yeah,
with
she
him.
knew that she was babysitting and that he was at the game. But she was the one that was checking in on how things were going with the girls, not Chris.
But that's kind of still par for the course, right?
Yeah.
Because she was always the one that was going to make sure everything was in order and detail.
Yeah.
So again, probably not too out of the ordinary for their lifestyle.
Yeah, but I guess he assumed if there was some sort of emergency that she would just contact me, because I was, at home right down the street.
Right.
So
after your guys' party, then we know that fateful night, right? So I want to go through when you first heard about it. I mean, obviously you're at this party. They're there. The girls are there. He's there. The girls are with him. You go to bed that evening. Was it the next morning, right?
That we found out?
Yeah,
The next
No, it was the
evening.
next night.
Yeah.
the next night.
I was sitting on the couch. I came home from work, watching TV, looking at Facebook on my phone, and I noticed that there was a post that the girls were missing, all three of them. And I kind of looked at it, and then I'm like, okay, right? My mindset is not that this is the family that something would happen to. And I had seen it again, and I looked over at her, and I said, I think Shanann and the girls are missing. And I don't know what that means, so I'm going to text Chris. And I texted him.
And this is the next night.
Yes.
Next night.
So the way the story goes is that the friend who dropped her off at, I think it was 1:48 a.m., they just come back from a conference. She had missed an OBGYN appointment, and the friend was actually who called the police
Yep.
and called Chris as
Right.
well.
Yep.
Which is interesting because we've discussed this case before as we were kind of preparing, and we both were kind of like, who really follows up that quickly? I mean,
Right.
I don't think we would have, but obviously a good friend of hers, probably knowing that the type A personality, if they didn't answer that first time, then
Yep.
something's going on.
Yep.
So that was kind of the initial setup that was going on, but you guys didn't know any of that was taking place.
No.
But after
I
you
knew
saw
she
it,
was getting home in
Yeah.
those 2 days, right? Like,
yeah.
we knew that much.
When you guys heard that part of the story, was that shocking at all for you, knowing that the neighbor would be like, "Hey, she didn't answer this text. She missed OBGYN appointment."
Well, my instant reaction is, how does somebody's friend know that they missed a doctor's appointment? Nobody's doctor ever called me because one of my buddies missed an appointment, right?
Right.
That's my mindset of things. What they talked about in Arizona or what they did in Arizona or a conversation from the airport, I don't know any of that, right?
Yeah,
Who knows if there wasn't a conversation that was like, hey, if you don't hear from me, right? Like, I don't know. Now that everything I know later brings me back to some of this,
right.
which is all speculation in my head, right? But when I followed this through, and I'm like, there's no way he did anything. Who calls the cops after dropping somebody off at 2 a.m. or whatever at 10 a.m. because they missed a doctor's appointment?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's doctor calls that somebody else to say, hey, your friend missed an appointment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? That's my brain.
Yeah, no, I kind of went down that road too. And then what is interesting is, but we're talking now, this is like noon, the police have showed up, they're talking about, but then it hits the airwaves that night.
Well, and at the end of the day, good for her, right?
Right.
Good for her for having the
absolutely.
wherewithal to know that something's wrong.
Yeah, something's
Right.
wrong.
Because we knew them and we were close to them and we didn't speculate anything would ever be wrong.
Yeah.
But so good for her, right?
But you then hear this information how and when?
On Facebook at about 8:30 at night, and I looked at her and I said, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay?
What was the initial message that you saw?
On
That
Facebook?
said, yeah, did
Was
it
that
say
the girls are missing, help find my girls.
From Shanann's mom.
Right,
from Shanann's mom?
Yep.
Okay.
right.
And
And I was like, I'm texting Chris, hey, is everything okay, right? And he texts me back, oh, I'm sick to my stomach, blah, blah, blah.
Can you give me a timeline on that, about what time that was?
Let's just say 8:30,
Okay.
and about 8:30 and 30 seconds, I
Okay.
texted Chris, but by 8:31, I was already in my car,
Okay.
driving to his house, right? Like, what the hell's going on here? I have flashlights in my car. Who are we going to look for? Or did they go on a walk because they have a pool in their area? Did they go to use the bathroom in the pool because the girls had to go to the bathroom? Did they get stuck in a bathroom? I'm not leaving them overnight stuck somewhere,
yeah,
Right.
right? That was my
that was the initial
let's
thought.
go, right? And so I went over to the house. His door's wide open. He's on the phone with somebody. I go in the house and I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's like, I don't know. I don't know where they went. Her said she was going to maybe stay at a friend's house. Like, oh, I got all the bullshit.
Okay. I wanna stop you right there though. And again, this is in hindsight.
Yep.
You see Chris at the party, and even before.
Yep.
Was there anything different about that engagement?
No.
Okay.
Nope. When I went into the house, I'm sitting at his table. He's on the phone with someone, and it's like, where the hell are they? I'm like, hey, where do we go? Where do we go look? What do we do? And he says, oh, the cops told me to stay here. I don't know what I'm looking for. They told me just to go to bed, and we'll do this tomorrow, and whatever, right? He was just saying things, and I'm just like, okay, I don't want to push him too far. I don't want to bug him. I don't want to not be supportive by any means. And so maybe 30 minutes goes by or so, and then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll go home, right? And when I walked out to my truck, my phone rings. Let me back up. While I'm in the house, she's texting my phone. Where's her car? Are the car seats in the car? Where's their medications? Right? All the mother.
So you're thinking
Yeah.
about this.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe they got into a fight and she left and went back to North Carolina or something along those lines.
Right.
But then he's like, no, all the stuff is here. And that really did not sit well. Because I'm like, okay, so she would have to like get an Uber that had car seats in it and already have medication. Like I'm trying to logically think like, okay, she left and went back to North Carolina. That's where
And you knew her type A
yeah,
personality.
I'm like, that's totally what must have happened. And she just needed time to cool down. So, but the stuff being there was really, and then to come to find out her purse was there, her wallet was there, her phone was there.
Correct.
So that, like, that was really the kicker right there. that
Now, did
something's
you
not right.
relay that information
Yes.
to her? That the
Yeah.
person
So I
phone-
asked him, I said, where's their medication?
Yeah.
Where's their medicine? He said, oh, she has more than enough medication
Yeah.
than we have at the house.
Did you go inside the garage and see the car
No.
with the car seats?
No.
Did he just
I-
told you that?
I didn't want to, I guess in my subconscious did not want me to attack anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nor was I thinking I should. I asked him straight up, I said, is the car in the garage? He said, yes. Car seats? Yes. Where's her phone? It was on the counter. Cops took it. Right? He answered my question,
Yeah.
so I didn't have any reasons to.
And still, your
Whoa.
radar is like, this is the same guy that I've known.
I'm thinking you're the cool, calm-headed guy, and I know her well enough to know that if you try to screw her over, she's taking these kids and she's getting the hell out of here,
Yeah.
right? Because her personality says so.
Yeah.
And so when he said, well, we got in an argument and she said she was just going to take the kids and go to her friend's house, I'm thinking, okay, that's probably it, right? Because nobody comes home from work and says, hey, by the way, you know your best friends, or not best friends, but your friends, they just killed their family.
But at any
Yeah,
point,
no.
but at any point in your mind, it's like, well, number one, that friend would have to live close,
Right?
and then certainly by then the cops would have found. They probably would have called every friend that they had.
Sure.
Did you get a call from the police?
I did. So when I left his house, I go out, door shuts. I'm standing on his porch. I look down, there's a dead bird on the floor. And I'm thinking, why is that bird on the ground dead? Right? Doesn't happen. I said, yeah, that's not a sign I'm leaving. Right? Right away, I'm like, yeah, that's not a sign of anything, I'm leaving. And I'm walking to my truck and my phone rings and it's the Frederick Police Department calling my phone. Hey, how's it going? This is, I forget the name, but at Frederick Police Department, do you know Chris and Shanann? I said, yeah, I'm at his house right now. And he goes, oh, should I call you back? Right out of the gate, should I call you back? Is this a bad time? I said, I'm actually getting in my truck right now. And he's like, oh, okay. You know, we start talking and he just asked a few questions and he goes, hey, I need your email address. And he asked personal information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I may be contacting you in the next few days if I have any other questions, blah, 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 right?
Do you
And
mind disclosing what questions that they asked?
normal? How do you know them? What's my cell phone number? He called it, but he wanted to write it down. And I asked him, I said, do you guys have her phone? Yeah, we're going through all the phone numbers on her phone and we're just calling them all. I don't have any questions. He didn't have major questions of anything. It was
General information.
just, hey, I just want you to have my phone, or I want to have your phone number. I want to have your email address. We may be calling you. You're at the house right now? Yes. What'd you guys talk about? Nothing. I'm just looking for where these kids are, right? Where Shanann is. And then he's like, okay, well, thanks for talking to me. And that was it.
So nothing about, when did you get there? What are you doing there? How long have you been there?
They weren't investigating anything, right? They were just going through phone numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at that point they didn't even know what they were up against or looking for.
One would think that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think that anytime something like that happens, the first thing you do is everybody's a suspect, I would think.
Sure,
And
sure.
because I want to get to that a little bit later too. I want to talk to you a little bit about what your experience was with that, and if you felt like you had, there was any type of really questioning of you, like what was your role in this thing?
Right.
So again, you then you hear this news, you go home. What happens after you go home? Are you still texting him?
No. Nope, I didn't text him at all the rest of the night. Went to work the next day.
Are you texting Shanann?
No. Oh, I did text Shanann, and I said, "Hey, where are you?"
Yeah.
And I got nothing back, right? I said, and I'm looking at Facebook, and I'm looking at different things, and I texted her again. I said, "Hey, dude, if you're somewhere, just tell your mom, right? Tell your mom where you're at, because your mom's worried shitless.
Yeah.
Just let her know." Nothing. And there was things that would happen, like, because the cops had certain things like on Facebook and stuff like that, they had access to her account and everything. You would see where it looked like she was going to respond to something, but then no responses. Like when you text somebody and they text you back, if you have an iPhone, it shows a little cloud that they're typing.
Right.
There was different things where it shows that the messages were read, not from my phone, but from Facebook. Because I messaged her on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Do you guys mind opening up this for just a second? But you get home that night after talking to him and so on and so forth. Do you mind telling me what your guys' conversation was?
Essentially, it was the conversation of, I was at the house. Yes, her phone was there, which she knew most of that. The cops called me on the way home. They just wanted to ask me if I knew the family and that I was there, right? Like, I don't know all the details of all that part, but then it was like, where the hell did they go? And both of us look at each other and it's like, she left, right? She left with the kids.
Well,
like,
and you also found out kind of an important piece of information while you were over there, as I'm grilling him with questions when he comes home.
That's
like,
what I want to know. Were
yeah.
you like ramping up questions?
Yeah, because I'm trying to make sense of all this, and he mentioned that Chris said that they were having marital problems, and that was the last time that we saw them all in person together. She was newly pregnant. They were excited. Never heard of any marital problems. So he said, yeah, they've been having disagreements and whatnot. So immediately I thought, okay, she left. She took the girls, she left. They're having issues.
You were 100% convinced in your mind that they just left.
Well, that's what I was trying to convince myself of, but the whole piece of the phone, the car seats, the medication, like my mind couldn't reconcile that part of those things being gone. So I'm like, okay, Shanann's really, really smart. She's really organized. So maybe she left that phone and she got a new phone. Like I start thinking about, movie type stuff. Like,
But you went through a lot of scenarios
Yeah.
of which her being murdered by her husband was not one of them.
no, yeah, absolutely, like that. And then one that even went through my head at some point was maybe their problems were really bad, and maybe she took her life and the girls. Like maybe it was a murder-suicide that way. That was like the worst case scenario in my head. Like maybe they had such a bad fight and there was going to be a custody, and she was pregnant, she was stressed out, she just couldn't handle it anymore. Like that was my worst case scenario.
Which is what is so interesting to me, because obviously we know the outcome of the story, but that didn't cross your mind.
No.
never.
And then as time started going on, and he started doing interviews, and he started becoming a suspect in the media.
Well, so I want to get to that. So He comes home. That's that. You guys have this conversation of trying to really figure out what might happen or might have happened, and you probably were trying to even be helpful. Like, okay, what can we do to
Right.
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
do what we've got to do to help find him? Tell me when the next basic communication happened where you found out information that
So
he was doing these
Tuesday.
interviews or whatever.
Yeah, the following day.
So Tuesday,
Okay.
the Colorado Bureau of Investigations came to our house,
Okay.
and they had called previously, and they said, "Hey, we want to come talk to you. We want to come talk to your daughter." They're trying to put together. She babysat, right?
Yeah, they're just trying to get together a timeline.
They're trying to put their timeline together.
But you guys
Your
would have
daughter
had to.
babysat.
But you guys would have had to have been on the top of that list because if she had all these multi-level
100%,
people,
because
you guys
we were
had to
the
be
last
close.
people to be with him.
Did they know that already?
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, yes, because my conversation was my daughter babysat the kids
Okay.
the night before. They were at our house for the birthday party, right? Now they're missing,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Her mindset was, why the fuck did he do that to us? I mean, I guess that's later in life, later in conversation, but why this nutshell to bring us into this bubble?
Right.
But so Tuesday, the CBI comes over. We sat with one in our living room, and the other one was like, "Hey, I want to go talk to your daughter in a different room, closed door, about the night of babysitting." Right? And we're like, "Okay, that's fine." Right? We're trying to help. Prior to them showing up, somebody else showed up because they needed pictures of what the kids were wearing, and she had pictures of when she babysat the kids, what they were wearing, what they go to sleep with, what they wake up with. Like they were detailing 3 nights ahead of the birthday party night, right?
Yeah, they're looking for missing persons
Uh-huh.
because I know in some of the research that we've done, the police actually even showed him a picture of a woman and 2 kids in a Walmart, and they were asking if those were his kids. Now I think there were some other psychological things they may have been doing at the time,
Right.
but they were actually at this point still looking for a missing person.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys are on the top of the list, which is why they probably
Right.
called you somewhat similar first. At any point in that time, were you still just trying to picture what could possibly have happened, or now that you're actually getting questioned by police, and we're talking now the bureau
So
stuff?
when CBI came to our house and were talking to us, they kind of said the comment of, "There's other people who already have an outcome," right?
And yeah,
I'm assuming
her family.
her family, right?
They already.
But they probably knew a lot more about what was going on between the two of them than we did, right? So I'm still just, I was a supporter of Chris not doing this, and there's no way in hell that that's what the outcome was.
When they questioned your daughter, what were they asking her?
About like normal stuff, like how long have you known them? What was your relationship with them? And then tell us about, just like walk us through your night of when you babysat. Was anything out of the ordinary? Did anything eventful happen?
What they were wearing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
The
they took
night that she
yeah.
left.
Yeah.
They took pictures of her phone that had pictures of what they were wearing, and they showed her pictures of clothes, right?
Which that would have had to have been pretty intense for your daughter too at the time.
Yeah.
Were you guys talking to her about the disappearance, missing? Was she fully aware of what was going
100%.
on?
Yeah.
And at any moment did she come to either one of you and say, "Mom, I think I know what happened. Dad, I think I know what happened"? Or was she also under the influence or under the thought process of where do they go? Wonder if they left. Did she ever say anything potentially of the outcome that evolved?
No.
No. Yeah. We were all in the same thought process of what is happening? Like, is this even real? Like like none of it seemed real.
Right.
And then their faces start getting plastered all over the news, and it's really like, what is happening?
Well-
Where are they?
Thank you for leading me directly into that. So when you see this news interview that he does,
I feel like this isn't even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up from.
tell me about that.
That was weird because since we know Chris, we know that he's He's not an emotional type of guy. He's very passive. So I know a lot of people were saying, like, he wasn't showing any emotion, like, what's wrong with him? And at that point, we kind of just brushed it off as, well, that's Chris. Like, I know his family is missing, and this is a crazy time, but he's not the type to be freaking out and showing emotion. So that's kind of what we thought. Like, it kind of looked like he did look a little awkward and
But
odd.
he's a very awkward person.
But that's but that's how he is. And then, but then looking back in hindsight, like watching it again after knowing what happened, like he had really weird body language. He kept chuckling. I don't know. He was just really
So after
a
the
little
fact,
too
you noticed.
nonchalant about it.
After the fact, you noticed things that you were like, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see that before.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people who've done a lot of stuff on this. Dr. Phil was one of them that did a whole presentation with it, and he was using pronouns instead of the names, and a lot of things that make sense, kind of in a hindsight 2020 thing, because it's a big story. It's the unfathomable, and again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys sharing this, because somebody's going to benefit from this. There's going to be something that comes out that this stuff does happen and it's real, and but. What is so intriguing is the way you guys have described him, and also even that's Chris. That's the kind of demeanor that he does. I think that's really a fascinating thing. But now you are seeing these things. You have to be hearing from friends that this guy did it.
Oh yeah. Well, just reading the comments on the news after his interview, everyone after that interview thought that he did it.
They had him pegged because
Yeah.
they had no idea who he was.
Yeah, they didn't know who he was, and we're like, no, like
It
he's
still didn't sway you.
It's different
Yeah.
when you're inside the bubble.
Correct.
Yeah. We're like,
And,
no.
and I had people calling me from where I worked before that also worked with him. Like, what the hell did she do? Right? Everybody was like, not surprised that she would take the kids and run.
Yeah.
Not surprised of like, just everybody was pointing at her absolutely taking the kids and running.
Yeah.
Like, because nobody would peg him as having the balls, if you will,
Yeah.
to do something that drastic.
So even though you're hearing all this, the comments and everything, you guys still were on the. I mean, she just left.
Because
Yeah.
it's
Still there.
the same thing. There's no way that kid is capable of doing that.
Right.
Like, there's no way. Like, the kid wouldn't smash a fly at a barbecue, right? That was the mentality he carried around.
And the dad,
he
he was-
loved those kids. He loved her. He loved his world with them in it, right?
Yeah.
He was content, so it seemed,
Yeah.
with everything, right?
Which is just incredibly fascinating. Let's fast forward then to now he's getting arrested. Now what's
So
going through your mind?
Wednesday, we're sitting hanging out with producer Chad. Obviously, everybody probably already knows we're neighbors. But we're sitting outside and just hanging out, and it's kind of a dull hangout, a really dull hangout, because there's a lot of things in the air. Where are these kids? Where are these girls? Like, where is everybody, right? And my daughter gets a text from her friend who lives in a neighborhood. Hey, I think the dad just got put in the police car. I think the dad got this. And we looked at each other like, there's no way. We're not ready to accept anything
like,
other than
no,
she
no.
left, right? That's the only thing that my brain will allow,
Right.
is that she took the kids, she left, and they're safe, right? And the news comes on at, 9, 10 o'clock. We're sitting in bed, we're watching TV, and Chad texts me. He texted me, holy shit, right? Or whatever. He said, what the fuck? And we had just saw it too.
We have breaking new details in just the last few minutes. Contact 7 Investigates is learning new details about the case of that missing pregnant mother.
We want to bring in Denver 7 investigative reporter Jace Larson, who's learning from top sources more about this investigation and the husband's involvement. Jace?
Tonight, we have learned from 2 law enforcement sources who are close to the investigation. They tell me that this husband has confessed to killing his family, and he is now detained.
And it's like, holy shit, he killed him, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I got the blank stare on my face. I'm not an emotional person. Girls obviously all start crying. She starts crying. They start crying. By the time I get to the door, he's already at my door. And he's got whiskey in his hand. And it's like, looks like we're standing on the porch for a minute, right? Because I'm trying to process. I was at this fucker's house 2 days ago trying to help find these people. Is this real? Is this not real? Is this real? Is this not real? That's the way my brain goes, right?
Yeah.
And oddly as it can be, I get up in the morning. Obviously, there's a lot of emotion that goes on overnight, right?
Right.
I get up in the morning, I'm driving to work, and the Black and Yellow fucking song comes on. Of all songs that can come on, Black and Yellow, knowing that they're Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And that's when I lost it, right? Like, I just broke down crying all the way to work. I'm sitting at work, I'm sitting at my desk, and they're like, why the fuck are you here? Because they all knew because of Tuesday, and they saw stuff on the news. They knew I was friends with him. They, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, he's your neighbor. He wasn't my neighbor, but he lived close by.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at work, and they're like, why are you here right now? Like, this isn't normal. None of this is okay. And I'm just trying to be normal.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't set in all the way. And so I was at work maybe 10 minutes before I was heading back home.
Yeah.
And they were just like, call me if you need anything. Like, and just still trying to process it, right?
Where were your emotions at that point?
Oh, just completely
In shock.
in shock. Like, I cannot believe this is happening and that we're a part of this, and so, like, close-knit a part of it. And yeah, just complete shock. And
Not know what to do at that point.
yeah.
No.
And this whole time, like our brains wouldn't let us go there, that they were not okay. And then to find out that, yeah, they're all dead and he's the one that killed them.
Yeah.
And that they were just at our house, and then he was just at his house and had normal conversation like that. Just trying to, like, wrap our heads around it. It was
It's a lot to process. These
so
are little
hard.
kids that you're
Yeah.
around and taking
Yeah.
care of and giving popsicles to. I
Yeah.
mean, just literally not long before. Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable. When did it set in for you, though, that it was real and that, you know, at some point I want to go back to that picture. That when you saw the kind of that evilness or something in that picture, when was that? Was that after you had heard?
It was, for me, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, either one.
For me, it was months later, right? Because I'm still on board of, okay, now I need to know how this happened. Like, how? And then the story comes out of, well, I went into the room and she was strangling the kids or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I'm still a little bit on board. I'm still a little bit on board. I'm still a little bit on board. You know, I was strung along with the hope of the reality wasn't what the reality was.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, okay, that makes more sense to me, right? It doesn't make sense, but it makes a little bit more sense. Because if she's that OCD and if she's that type A crazy personality, maybe you said that you wanted a divorce and she says you're not taking the kids. And this is all from news stories back in history of how this thing shakes out.
Right.
Right? That's all that's going through my head, that there's no way that this calm, collected, no personality kid decides, I can't wait till they get home tonight.
Right.
And this is what's going to happen. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, my brain doesn't allow that.
Right.
Yeah, I still don't believe that happens.
Well, you know, have you guys watched the movies?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
documentary?
And somebody tears it apart.
Well, that's what I want to talk about. Tell me when you watched it, because I've watched them both. Was there any part of that movie that you were just like, yeah, it either is kind of dead on, or was there holes in it, or how did you feel about that?
Well, the movie with the actors, It was both. There were parts that were true, not true, semi-true. Like, I mean,
Because they were saying there was a lot of stuff that they had to fill in,
Right.
and I'm sure the fill-in part wasn't quite as accurate as what it could be.
Right.
But did the storyline seem to fit what you knew?
yeah, I mean, for the most part, overall.
And as you were watching it, were you getting kind of the picture of what you then later find out actually happened? Was it nauseating to you? Was it just like, where were you at emotionally when you saw that?
Just kind of like numb. Like, it was just kind of weird. Because I watched, like, when all the documentation came out and all the body cam footage and all the police reports and, you know, all the digging that they did for this trial that never happened.
Yeah.
So I watched all of it because for my brain, to try and even like piece this together and make it make sense, which obviously it still doesn't, but I'm an information person. So I'm like, I have all this information at my fingertips. I want to know, like, how did this happen? Like, obviously we weren't aware of their issues, and did those issues lead up to this? And there was marital issues, financial, you know, it's like all this stuff comes out and there's
obviously
a lot
hidden
of
because you guys
information.
have a relationship with these people.
Yeah. And then
Obviously.
and then find out that he's having an affair, and so just like all this information, you know, comes forward that, okay, now it makes a little bit more sense because there was all this stuff behind the scenes going on that we didn't know about. So it wasn't just like, oh, they were super happy up until that night and then something happened.
Right.
It was obviously like there was a lot of things that played into this.
That they hid well. They hid well from you guys.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Especially when you hang out a lot. I mean, they hid it well, which is hard for a lot of people to do. So I want to talk about one thing, though, and hopefully you guys have seen it. Did you see his actual confession when he brought in his dad and then they end up confessing?
Well, and that was one of the texts he texted me, was he was waiting for his dad to come in.
Okay, so I want to talk about that because we've got to bring it in. You had text messages with him.
Yeah.
Of course, I've actually seen those. Was that the last text that you got?
The last text I got was, my dad's flying in. And then I texted him back. I said, hey, is your dad here? Nothing. Hey, how's things going? Nothing.
So you hear that confession, you're watching on TV that he just confessed. He fails the polygraph test. You hear this confession. Obviously, that drives it home at that point. Now you know.
Well, and you see the videos with him at his neighbor's house with his neighbor's doorbell cam, right?
Yes.
Watching his truck, and he's standing there, his hands are on the wall. Now I look at it like, man, am I glad I didn't know when I sat on his kitchen table the night after.
Well, that's kind of where I want to
Like-
go with this segment is, you know, where all this information comes out, you see the doorbell cam. You see the other camera where, you know, the truck is backing up. You see another car goes by. And I'm going to kind of finish this up here in just a minute again. And I'm going to ask you guys your honest opinion on this because there's a lot of speculation that there may have been an accomplice. But did you, when you saw all of that stuff, at any point in that time were you like, yeah, this was completely premeditated? He didn't decide this that night after he left our party. This was decided weeks before. Did you have that sensation?
No,
Tell me that. What'd you have?
not at all, because everything was just way too normal. Like, I feel like if there was something coming up, he wouldn't have showed up to our party. If there was something would have been out of the normal, but he kept everything way too normal, which to me now is like, how do you know you're going to do that and keep everything that normal? And I guess that's a good thing, because that means I could never do such a
Right.
thing.
Right.
I guess if you can't wrap your head around the why the kids, the why, like, I could understand a little bit of, you could heat of passion, a fight with someone, whether it's your wife, whether it's a person at a bar, whether it's a friend, whether it's something,
Another adult.
another adult, things happen a little bit easier than the whole kid, wife, pregnant wife to be, right? Like kid, pregnant wife. How do you, the best part is if you can't wrap your head around the whys, good for you, because you're not that guy.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Couple questions. Have you talked to him at all since his arrest?
No.
If you had the chance, would you?
Yeah.
What would you ask him?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a
I mean, that's the
nutshell,
obvious one.
Yeah.
she probably wouldn't be allowed in the room.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, like,
But
download your brain, because the problem is that, you know,
download your brain.
the FBI has gone back to interview him, and he's had another story. And then some lady wrote him letters and wrote a book, and then
Yes.
he had another story. But there weren't, like, enough questions to still answer. Like, it's still, there's still a lot of holes in it, even when and he keeps telling different stories, and every time he tells the story, it gets worse. So it's like, what really is, the truth has to be in there somewhere. Like, what is the truth, and what is your, like, what was your thought process leading up to this? And now, like, I don't know, they're like, the FBI interviewed him again, but they didn't ask the questions that I would have asked.
Right.
Like, it wasn't.
Would it be important for you to know? Do you feel like you would like to know, just for your own closure and peace of mind?
Yes, just to know, because.
And I'm going to follow this up with another question. So we obviously know he had a mistress. We obviously know that he was having this affair. But you knew him before the affair, most likely. During the affair, obviously.
Yeah.
He never changed at all? Did he seem happier being this happy-go-lucky guy? He's got this girl on the side. Anything like that?
No.
100%.
So nothing ever changed with the guy.
Like, he has a poker face. Whatever's going on in his head,
You never would have known.
he doesn't show it.
Do you think this guy was a cold-blooded murderer, or do you think that there were other circumstances that pushed him to do this?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, in
From
the
what you
beginning-
knew about this guy, and you just don't think there's any possible way he could do it, do you think, just your opinion, that there was an outside influence that helped him make this decision? Would you speculate that?
No. If anything, the kid was maybe introduced into a lifestyle that he didn't have by being with this other girl, where he got to go to the Shelby Museum, being a Ford guy, got to go camping, got to go to Moab, got to do all these different things, right? And maybe, right? And maybe that's just me trying to circle it together to where there's a realistic reason for anything. But I don't know if her showing him this lifestyle is enough to make him do this. Because in my mind, you're a pussy, then just get a fucking divorce.
Right.
Right? Don't kill your fucking kids. Don't kill your fucking wife. Just man the fuck up and get a divorce.
You know,
Right?
I want to run a couple things by you guys again. Chime in however you feel, but there is a few different people that speculate that there was an accomplice, and they're pretty hardcore on it. There's a lot of video evidence that people have broke down to show that there was potentially two people there at the time. My question again to you guys, I think I already know the answer, but to you guys knowing him and knowing her, knowing the children, do you think he would have had an accomplice, or do you think he was able just to do it by himself?
If he was doing it, it was going to be by himself. He doesn't know anyone. He didn't go places. He didn't hang out with anybody that he didn't work with, right? Like, the only person he knew at where I worked with him was me because of Shanann, right? I've never met any of his oil field buddies at any party we've ever had with them, right? He was very cockroachish for lack of better words, on that. If they went anywhere, it was her friends, it was her people, it was her friends that came over, it was her Thrive people that came over, it was her world that he was living in.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you talk to any of her friends? Have any of them contacted you?
no,
No.
not at all.
Would you like to? Would you want to talk to them?
Sure, if they have questions or if they have things, like, I've tried to reach out to a couple of them with, hey, I have pictures of the family together and the kids and this and that, and nobody's ever contacted me back.
What about her parents? Have you reached out to them and said you had pictures of them and anything?
One time, and I didn't get anything back, so I didn't push the issue.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's good. I know I did read some stuff as I was doing preparing for the podcast, and it does seem as if her parents want this just to go away and be done, and I totally get that.
Well, and that's the other reason why we waited so long to even talk to anybody, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're not trying to intrude on anything, but oddly enough, we were as close to those people in the last few days as anyone could be,
Yeah.
right? We saw them last, right?
Yeah.
I went to his house the day they were missing. They were at my house the day before they were missing, right? That makes us the missing link in the world of movies they want to make,
Yeah.
stories they want to come up with, right? And it doesn't mean much, but it means in a 24-hour period of time, they were at our house, I was at his house, right?
All right. Again, at Truth Talks, we want to thank you guys for telling your story, your honesty, just everything that, it's not easy to come on these shows and tell these stories, especially the traumatic events that you guys went through. You guys are kind of those people that people forget about, right? It was extremely traumatic for you. You knew them. You knew the girls. You knew Shanann. And even for Chris, I mean, for lack of an emotional thing, he's still a person, regardless of the heinous crime he did. He's still a person that you guys knew. So that's also kind of like a loss or a death, I would say, as well. But again, thank you so much for coming on our show, telling the true story as you know it. And I just tell you, we want to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much.
Yep, thank you.
Well, there you go.
Wowzer.
Yeah,
I found that very interesting.
very interesting. Yeah.
I didn't find any new information, but I found the demeanor and some other observations pretty interesting.
Yeah. See, Jeremy used to work with Chris and Shanann both at Longmont. He actually was one of the first ones they knew when they moved to Colorado. Which is rather interesting.
Is Dave with us?
Yeah, I think maybe he's he can't hear. I think he's muted or something.
Yeah,
Well, there he is. I guess he'll be right.
He'll be right back. Yeah, no, what I found interesting mostly, the information was, but it just was really weird to me. And I don't know if I'm the only one. I got a really weird vibe as to how eager the husband was to talk. And then he kind of summed it up at the end when he went into, well, that's why we waited to talk. But we are, he was very defensive of why they're talking, why they're coming forward. He clearly admits he hasn't talked to the family or anything.
Right.
Yeah, and then he talks about, eerily brings up, well, we're that missing link for a movie or a book, or it was just, I got a bad feeling about what he was saying and why he was coming forward like that. And Dave,
Yeah, people think
what do you
that
think, Dave?
you're a cocky person, and I thought that Jeremy was a very cocky person in his first interview as well, personally.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really look out for it as much, and maybe it was without the visuals, and maybe also because it was a while back. But yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, he doesn't even let his wife, speak up.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Very controlling. He'd cut her off, and yeah, I just didn't get a good vibe out of him.
What do you think, Dave?
Like Dave's having issues because there's no way he wouldn't talk.
He's trying.
I know, I could see.
His mouth, but I can't hear him. We still can't hear you, Dave. Can you hear us? Okay. All right. We got you.
I don't know what he did. You didn't mute him on accident, did you?
No, he
Okay.
just muted himself, I think.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it says he chose to mute himself, so.
Well, no, I think it's awesome. But I'm glad you did this because I hadn't really thought of them because clearly there's so much going on. But you know, being new, I did watch or listen to that, but it was way back. You know, I made my notes and haven't really gone back and thought much. But this one here was really good. I'm really glad you did it because it gives me a couple thoughts in my mind.
Yeah, I saw in the comments that several people hadn't seen it, and then some that did was wanting to re-see it and couldn't find it or remember. Because this other channel, they really don't cover Watts only. They cover many different things. And I actually think this may be the only Watts one they have on their channel, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely. And they have whoever that runs that show, really nice production and
Oh, yeah.
production value. It's really good.
Chad, they do some really, he's very good, yes. Very nice guy, too. Very nice guy.
Yeah, he does. He's seems like a really good interviewer, too. He's definitely good at what he does. I can't, I'm going to go over and, so he could thank you, because I'm going to go over and check him out after this and watch some more interviews.
Oh yeah, you'll really like listening to his podcast. He's a very good interviewer. He keeps it interesting. I mean, yeah,
He was very professional.
Yes.
Round 3.
Oh, Jay, would you fall asleep on your mute button?
No. I'm having, as I said, everyone, I need a new computer. I'm having issues. It's all right. It's all good. I don't like Jeremy Lindstrom.
Yeah, a lot of people feels that same exact way.
He kept shutting his wife up.
Were you willing? Were you listening to me at all, Dave? I don't know if you could hear me when you were going through that.
No, I lost everything. But there was one thing. He looked at his wife for a confirmation. You know, like right, like agree. You know what I mean? Like that look of right. Do as you're told. You know, you have to agree with me, sort of thing. He's a very, very, very aggressive human being who likes to tell porcupines, and I think he used words to the effect of he used those kids in a statement earlier on. Yeah, that's the way Chris actually spoke to him on the phone. I think he was using a reference to Chris's interrogation more so than Chris using those words on the phone.
Yeah, he's very outspoken.
Yeah,
and
we're just. Oh, I'm sorry, Kim. Go ahead.
a lot of times after the fact, when they still have that same persona, your mind can go in two different directions. You know what I mean? Is he just cocky, or, you know, what's going on with this? You know?
Or I mean, let's to be fair, he could be just still upset and had all this on his chest for a while. And,
Bullshit.
Well, I agree, but you got to be fair. You got to get both sides there. But I agree. We went through this when you were going through your audio issues. I didn't like him. I thought it was. I got a bad feeling about him. He was talking too much, too eager, and he was defensive over why he was talking. And then he even goes on to say, you know, but I think I really got trouble with that last part where he said, I think we're the missing link of this for any book or movie story. Like, oh, okay, that's what he wants. He wants to make sure when the books and the movies are written that they have a role in it.
Right. I don't know. I don't know, Octavia. That's I don't know.
The interviewer was awesome. The interviewer was very good. He actually asked some amazing questions. He actually did ask, you know, he controlled the interview very well. And then he actually sort of changed his own narrative of the questioning at one stage to sort of go along with the Lindstroms and to see if they'd open up a bit more. And that's where I think he caught them out in a few Porky Pies. And I think it was a great interview on behalf of the interviewer.
Yeah, and to my knowledge, this is the only, now I could be mistaken, but this is the only interview from any of the friends or neighbors or anything like that far out into the aftermath of what happened. I think this is the only one with just them two.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I
the
know
only ones that weren't paid prior.
Yeah, quickly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was some that was like quickly after, like maybe a week afterwards. But then these guys, their interview was like 2 years later. So they had plenty of time to focus, think about, look at photos, see if there was any signs, and they pretty much have almost the same story that they had in their first interview. Pretty much the same thoughts and opinions.
Dave made a good point too, that they, the paid part. I know he was joking, but it's funny how, I'm just throwing it out there as a thought, but that they haven't spoken since this. So after being so eager about that book and movie and making them the link and being so eager to talk, they haven't talked since. So maybe they did get paid, Dave.
Maybe.
Afterwards.
Yep.
Very true. I mean, anything's
possible. Anything's
Right.
possible. Yeah.
There's
So
going on right now. Oh my God.
just quickly, I'd just like to bring up. There was a lot of questions going on in the chat. I was actually watching the chat a lot, and I knew that there were many people here that actually turned up after the start of the interview and missed the start, where we haven't actually spoken in regards to what happened on Kim's channel. And we all said that we were actually going to discuss this after the interview. And just quickly, I would just like to say that I put out a little video this morning that was 3 minutes long after getting pretty much a phone call from Kim and a warning from her that she was given 64 privacy strikes on 4 videos associated with the Watts case. Pardon?
Within 20 minutes.
Within 20 minutes. Did you hear that, everybody? Within 20 minutes of each other, these privacy strikes came in. And they're pretty much, we've narrowed it down now to anybody who has been reading the Discovery. So a certain version of it, possibly. And these strikes have come in against a few creators. So a number of creators that took all of their Watts videos down and made them unlisted this morning. A number of us will start putting them back up, I would imagine. But poor old Kimberly can't until this incident is actually put to rest. So I will just I'll let Kim explain how it transpired and how it's made her feel. And this is the nicest human being in the true crime community, everybody. Thought I'd let you know, with the sweetest voice, and we all love going to sleep. Listening to her voice send us to sleep at night, reading the Discovery. So I'll just, without any more of me, which I talk far too much, according to Larry, I'll put you on to Kim, and she'll just fill you in.
Thank you for that, Dave. Very well said. Very well. And I appreciate it. Well, what happened is I took me a little nap this afternoon, and when I woke up, I noticed my phone was just back to back to back in my email, and I went to look at it, and it was just like back to back all through my email where I was getting privacy claim hits on 4 different videos, 20-minute span. So I ran over to my page. At first, I looked at the strikes. They were all on parts of the Discovery that I read aloud. And a lot of you know I read that Discovery. That's all they were hitting. So I went quickly because I knew they were in that playlist. So I went quickly and I started putting all of my videos onto unlisted and private. And I just didn't take any chances because a lot of you know my last channel was completely deleted while I was asleep because the same thing happened to me, but it wasn't over the Discovery. It was over my Exposing the Mistress series and my Troy McCoy interview. So I went ahead and I put everything on unlisted and private. YouTube is going to have to go in manually and look at each one of these strikes or claims. They're not strikes yet, to make sure that they're okay. And they will, because it's all public record. And when they do that and clear all of these false claims against me, then I'm going to go ahead and make all my videos public again. But for the time being, just to save my channel, I'm going to have to leave them private and unlisted, or they're going to come right back. And if they can hit 64 in 4 videos in 20 minutes, they will have my channel deleted overnight while I'm asleep, just like before. I've got hundreds and hundreds of hours in this channel, so I can't let that happen again. So I hope you all understand. I'm so sorry. It sucks. It really sucks bad.
It does. And like I said before, I think you're going to, ultimately, it sounds to me like people are just, you have some trolls that are trying to give you a headache.
They are.
I know it stresses you out.
They're having a go right now at me and Larry, right now. The pair of them. There's a few of them in here.
Dave's got the floor now.
No, go for it, Larry, mate. I'm not going to damage Kim's channel. I can't do it. So you keep going, mate. I'm going off camera because this is just.
Oh, it's okay, Dave.
Is he all right? Oh, yeah, but no, I was just.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Why has this happened on here, on this channel? All right, I've had enough of this. Right, I've had enough. I'm just going to sit back. Not you guys, trolls. All right, so I'm just going to. Yep, it's the chat. Okay, I'm just going to sit back and listen to this for a minute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is there something? Is it something in chat that I'm not aware of?
I'm not sure.
I do think though that you are. I don't know. Maybe I know he's able to. He monitors chat better than me. Maybe there's something I didn't see. I can't see chat. I'm on my phone. But yeah, no. I know Dave. Dave thinks a lot of you, so I know he gets emotional. Now, I'm hoping. I thought at first that it was maybe because I was joking around with him. But I don't think he would do that because we joke around all the time.
No, he's just very upset about all this that's going on.
And I don't blame him. I try to be, and that's why we're a little different. He does. He's very passionate. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And Dave's an amazing guy.
He is.
And he thinks very highly of you. I know that for a fact.
As I do him.
I'm trying to be the guy that brings you back to feeling, both of you, to feeling not so worried about it. I think I know it's easier said than done, and I am very new, so I don't know how it works. I admit all that. But like I said earlier, and I don't know if this was the part where we weren't recording, but if AD can get through everything he did, and no offense, I like AD, but I'm just saying if he can get through everything, then you're going to be perfectly fine. You've done nothing. Somebody's just trolling you to give you a headache for a moment. I think you're going to be okay. And like I said, I will support you in any way I can possible, whether I know I don't have any YouTube clout, but personally, if you need legal advice, whatever, I can get it for you.
I do appreciate that.
But yeah, I know Dave, he gets very defensive. He's a solid friend and he's very loyal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He sure is. He's one of the best on here.
There's Dave, my man.
Dave have a sickie and no we care. I just get really upset when it's happened. There's people I've defended all over YouTube. It's who I am. It's I just but this shit going on against Kimberly, I've had a fucking gut full of it. She is the kindest human being that there is in this community. So you can all go and shove your trolls up your Jats crackers, because we're here to stay, all of us. And if we think NK is involved, she's involved. But nobody here bashes Shanann, and nobody bashes the Ruziks, nobody bashes the Watts. We're here to find out what happened, and others are involved. End of story. And
that's right.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
And Dave, it's also, people need to realize, and I'm going to give this statement in my show tomorrow night where I release some pictures, that I've gotten full legal advice on this. This is a public case. Whether they like it or not is irrelevant. This is a case of major. Now, this is the way that the lawyer I spoke to, 2 of them actually, before in the weeks I've been researching these photos. They said it's a public case of public interest. You absolutely have a right to release whatever you want on those specific names. Now, there's lines that get crossed, of course. Some people do, but we're talking about specifically the suspects and the people that are in the public documents. We can say their names and talk about them, and clearly you don't want to cross, but to ask the questions that have been asked in a public case is 100% legal. There's nothing anyone can do about it. You just talk about it. It's reportedly. This is what's reported. This is what's here, and this is my theory. And there's nothing wrong with that. These people, some of them may not like it. We are Americans, well, except for Dave, but you know what I mean. All of us are citizens, and
Cooperate.
we have a right. We have a right to question our government at all times, especially public figures. I've told this story. I don't know if Kim has heard it before. But, you know, as you probably know, Kim, I used to be in elected office myself. And I remember back in those days, I don't know if any of you remember, there used to be that website, Topics. And it was just like a free-for-all, like a forum of just anonymous people spreading rumors and lies. And it was going back to like 2010. And they would say stuff about every politician. But once they got me on there and they started just literally making up lies, like stuff that I would usually find funny. Like, oh, he lives in his mom's basement, blah, blah, blah. And finally, though, I got mad because I said, people are going to start believing some of this weird stuff that originally I thought was funny. So I asked my uncle, who's a lawyer, you know, what could I do? I want to sue these guys. My uncle laughed at me. He goes, you can't do that. He goes, you're a public figure now, buddy. You chose it. And you're in the public eye. You're of a public interest. You're an elected official. People can say whatever they want. You don't have the same rights as a private citizen because you're not anymore. And that's the case with both, and not only the victims, unfortunately, but also, you know, suspects, people that were involved. The mistress in a murder case is 100% a public interest story. And they're going to be talked about. They can be talked about, and they always have. The mainstream media is able to talk about them. She went and did an interview with the Denver Post. That alone made her a public figure on her own doing. She gave a interview with the Denver Post. That ended any rights she has to say she's not a public figure. And so we do have a right. I'm rambling now. I'm worse than Dave. But
oh no, it's interesting.
I think my point I want to get across to you is I really am sorry that you got to deal with it, but I truly believe you're totally fine and you've done nothing wrong. We all know that.
I do appreciate it. It's so frustrating, you know, and it is spooky, man. Like I did. I went to bed. My whole channel was going. I wasn't ever gonna do it again, and Dave G pulled me out of this hole like you would not believe. And he's really the one that got me. That's why I have this channel today, really, Dave G. You know, and here we go again. And then the pervert, you know, and then now this, and oh my goodness. Why me? I mean, I really.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I came in, as you, again, I keep saying it, but I am new. And when I came in, I noticed that it was right around, when I started this, I always know because it was right around the time you had that first con artist there, the whatever his name was,
Yeah,
liar there. And I remember thinking, geez, and I saw you took it down. You were very upset. I'm like, oh man, I wish I didn't know any of you people then, like all the YouTubers. So but I had wished, I was like, God, I wish I could say to her, don't worry about it. It happens to people. It's not your fault. I mean, you can only do the best you can. What I don't like is when people claim for 100% fact that I believe this person or I did this and I did that, and it's 100%. We did everything. Nothing's 100%. Even me, I've done not only my own due diligence on the pictures I'm releasing tomorrow, I've done. I mean, I'm 99.99%, but everybody says, well, why aren't you 100? Because there's always, I've seen it. I've seen you guys unfortunately go through it, and I'm hoping I could learn from the crap, you know, the really bad stuff that's happened to you guys, and learn from that stuff to never say 100, because it is possible that someone could have just got it be wrong. You know, I mean, that's always possible. So that's why I'm presenting it as a question. But I'm going to also let people know that I am I not only researched it myself, but I got legal advice before I'm doing this. So if it's not, though, it's not. I'll take the hit on it. But I think it's worthy of a discussion.
Our mate Muck
What do you
Boys
think,
just said-
Dave?
I just think my mate Muck Boys over there in chat's got it right. He said, "Dave, shut that ex-politician up, will you?"
I saw that.
Right.
I didn't want to
Right.
interrupt with it, but that's awesome. Muck Boys knows.
Yeah, I just think that I think there's people out there in the community that just don't understand that how much work goes into actually creating a channel and creating content for people, and also working behind the scenes to actually bring you people, potentially information that you just haven't received yet. I can tell you right now, Larry and I have been working our butts off the last few weeks, and we've got some stuff that we're going to deliver over the next few weeks that will be new information, and some of it will be reported information. Some of it will be pretty much to a point where it's a possibility that this has occurred or this person is this person, because that's information that's been reported to us from a very, very reliable source. So I need you to seriously watch this space. You need to watch Larry's channel tomorrow because he's got some very, very, very interesting photographs that he is going to release that have been reported to us that, NK's alive and well, put it that way.
Oh, she's alive and well, and you're right, Dave. That's good. That was a really, really good. I couldn't have said that better myself. There's a lot of people, especially what you said, and again, it's because I come from a little different side, because you guys have been doing this a long time. I'm brand new, and Dave made a good point. All of you creators, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do it. Especially, I don't know how many people, I don't know the personal lives, what they do, but I don't even have kids. I work full time, so that's a little bit, but I don't even have kids or anything. So me and my fiance live alone, and I work from home, normal 40-hour week, but you would think I'd have tons of time. I find myself, oh my gosh, up all night, the messages and all that, and which I love. And so, I want people to keep doing it, but it is a ton of work. And then, of course, I feel like I'm going to get kicked out of my family and disowned because I use my uncle at least three times a day, calling him up, asking him this, asking him that, legal advice, because I want to make sure everything we do is right. So it is, though. Kudos to Kim, Dave. Who else is in the family? Obviously, you got Cher, Prairie Boy. These guys, and then of course the rest too. But I'm saying in Kim's family here, I just want to say you guys are doing
Team Unjustified.
Yeah, there you go, Team Unjustified. I just want to say you guys work so hard. I watch the work Kelly and Amber over there do, CDT, because obviously I'm friends with them, and it's a full time. It is. When people say, creators getting paid, guys, I'm telling you, it's a full time job.
Oh my God.
I have a full-time job and this isn't it.
I know. Well, me too. Same thing. But
this is my full-time job, and I don't even.
And you deserve to not be put through stuff like this because you work very hard.
It's just for them, for them babies and Shanann. I want to get into. I love true crime, but this case has hit me in the heart like no other. And I've tried to step away, and every time I do, something else brings me back. All of my subs, that's what they want too. They want Watts case. That's what they want.
I've never seen anything like I said. I wasn't even in a true crime in the sense of like really engrossed. I mean, I've always loved. I think everyone loves true crime to some extent. I watch Forensic Files and all that. I pick up on the big cases here and there, but never have I ever thought of myself as a true crime person. But this case, there's something. Even me, when I dived in and turned my computer on that night after the documentary and started looking, I never in a million years would have thought I'd still be talking about this. No.
Me too, honey. Me too. Oh my God. Me too. I have watched true crime. I mean, I started out with Charles Manson at 10 years old. I have always been into true crime.
Oh my God, that's funny you say that. I've always, obviously I was too young, but growing up is when he was like in jail, and it was always like, oh, Charles Manson this, Charles Manson that. So
Yeah.
I got obsessed with that in like my 20s, and back then, we just started getting the internet, so it wasn't as much you could do research.
I'll
But
be right back. Just give me a sec.
yes, sir. But yeah, we just had, internet forums here and there, and you remember those days, the old dial-up. So we didn't have YouTube, but
Right.
if we did, that Manson case would have probably got me good. That was an interesting one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when Manson was big, well, when Manson was happening, that's actually the year I was born. But when I was 10 and started learning to read, and then I'd see my mom's books or tabloids or whatever, and I would just read them, and I just started getting so interested in it, and it just escalated from there, And I've always been into true crime. And then when I first seen this case, I'm going to be honest with you, I paid not a lot of attention to it. I'm not kidding. When I was seeing it like come across the local news right when it very first happened, to be honest, in my mind, I was like, well, another domestic, it's really sad, but probably another domestic kind of thing. And he was the domestic violence kind of guy. But then when the Lifetime movie came out, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy's being portrayed as some hero or something. What the hell's up with that? And so
Yeah.
then you start thinking about all these people that you think have the perfect life, and that could be them. So then I was like, then I started YouTube, and who's the first one I found? AD. And so I'm watching his channel, and then I'm watching other channels, and finally my husband's like, why don't you make a channel? You have been studying this case now for what, 3 or 4 months. Why don't you just make a channel and talk about it and quit telling me and tell them? And I'm like, yeah,
No, it's a good idea for him.
Yeah,
You've
I was
obviously been very well at it. Done
right.
very
I
good.
was so into it that I had to have somebody to talk about. And who else? He's the only one here want to hear me, and he didn't want to hear me. So I did what he said, and lo and behold, I found lots of people out there that wanted to listen to me talk and us talk together, and that's what happened. And then my channel got deleted, and I cried for a week. And
That's terrible. Jeez,
Dave,
how many? Now, what were you? Did you lose all your subscribers and all that too?
oh yeah,
Well, yeah, I
lost
would assume.
everything. My channel, it's and they still, and that was back last May, and it's still being under review because of COVID. Because I was like, no, and I disputed it. So it's not even, it may come back one day, but they said it would take a long time because of COVID, because they have to manually review each one by, and I have long videos, like an hour, right?
Well, I think what you can do if you do, even if they bring it back, you can within YouTube Studio, you can combine the 2 channels and all the subscribers combined too into one channel.
Yeah, that's whenever it gets done.
Yeah, if it does. But
Yeah.
your experience sounds similar to mine. When I had first heard about this case in 2018, I didn't think anything of it. Like, I thought the only thing that made me even remember it was the fact that everybody's heard. I did have a friend who at the time was just graduating law school and was interning for some place that worked pretty close with this investigation. And so he had some comments about it and was complaining that there was corruption. But back then, I didn't think anything of it. I thought it's just another case. And, some guy killed his family. It's terrible, but it happens. And
Yeah, exactly.
then when it was all the way till this year with the pandemic and working from home, being home all day, nothing to do, I watched the documentary. I said, wow, that's interesting. That was really well done. And it made me think, I go, that's the case that so-and-so worked on. So I give him a call. We talk all the time, and I just started asking questions, because actually right after that, I started watching, same as you, I started watching YouTube, and first one up was AD. Same thing here. First AD, and then I started going in deeper and deeper. So then that brought questions. I said, geez, so next time I talked to my buddy, I was like, hey, what is this and what is that? And we started debating things, and then he told me a few things, nothing groundbreaking. He wasn't any high up person, but he had some things from the inside the investigation that made me think cover up. And you guys all know my history in politics. That's what got my original interest, was exposing any kind of corruption. I don't like corruption. I don't like bullies. I don't like people that abuse their power. And so that's what originally got it. But as you go in, you can't help but fall in love with, those poor girls and Shanann, and just thinking what they went through all for whatever it was, whatever the real truth is, no matter what anyone believes. It's just horrible what they had to do for whatever these sick people or person did. And it's addicting.
Oh yeah.
How long ago did you start your channel?
I started whenever the Lifetime movie was. It was like,
I've never seen that actually. I've been trying to find it, but I can't.
it's on my Facebook page.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Can you send me a link?
I did a watch party. Yeah, Dave, he'll put the link in here. He actually
Or
Dave,
send
drop
it.
the link.
If he could send it to me in Messenger, that would be perfect. Because then when I get off, I can go right to it. And
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
watch
there. I
it.
have several. I have all of the Watts documentaries, movies, everything like that.
that's
do watch
awesome.
parties there. Yeah.
What are you thinking, Dave?
I'm thinking there's a guy inside here behind me with all the answers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think some of them he may not even have.
Well, I don't believe he knows how anybody died, which makes it stranger more than anything. So it's just I don't know what's going on with all these authors and people that are writing to him, and letters that he's getting, and information he's sharing. Apparently a third book's going to get written. It'll probably be another fictitious book. So I just, people buy these books. I just don't understand. I'm just hoping that we can somehow, somewhere along the lines, get accomplices charged in this case. That way we'll get a trial, and all of it will have to come out. And that's the only way it's going to come out. If he flips on people, it won't affect his sentence, and it won't bring a new trial for Chris. So they can dream as much as they want about their 35C. We get accomplices, they get charged, and we will get ourselves a trial, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we need, and that's what this whole case needs. We need it all to come out.
I agree. I think we need a trial.
Yeah. So that's humbly in my opinion, of course, just allegedly in my opinion. I heard that on Unmasked first. So in my opinion,
I almost named my channel In My Opinion with Larry, but I knew you'd yell at me. It was too long to write.
Yeah, that's right, mate. That's right.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, in my opinion, was actually written to Teresa S. Live on Unmasked the other day, and they what's her name? Vanessa put up on the screen. You heard it here first. Allegedly, in my opinion.
That's perfect.
Hey, that's not a bad. That's not a bad channel name for someone to put name their channel allegedly.
It's really not.
I know.
Allegedly IMO for in my opinion.
Exactly right.
Not a bad channel name.
So look, I don't know what Kim wants to do now, but I think we covered this Jeremy Lindstrom showpiece, accompanied by his wife.
A question for Kim.
Sure.
I saw earlier on your show. I was very interested. It was nice. You said that's the first I'd heard about it. Is there like a new confession from Chris? Am I the only one that's not aware of this? I heard it on yours, which was interesting.
Actually, there was one floating around. It's not been confirmed yet that if that's the one that he's using this time. I don't know. Okay. But he obviously would have to have a different one to even get an attorney to contemplate, or even think about filing a 35C, really.
I just found it interesting. If it's true that he is finally, I don't think it's the real truth, but there's always little truths in this stuff. If it's true, it's interesting that he is now seemingly ready to go down the path of naming NK.
Yeah, what was it, Dave? Do you remember, or do I need to put it up? Do you remember about what it was?
That he said
NK's on the table.
Yeah, definitely. And Lana said that as well, right?
Yeah, but we can't believe anything she says because that's fact.
Well, in what Kim had read on her channel, or had, I think Mr. Share read it, but either way, on Kim's channel earlier, it was or was it on Cher's channel?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm giving y'all the credit here, Jim. I'm sorry. I'm trying to help you. I forget which one. We watch so many lives all day that you forget which one it's on.
Right.
But yeah, on Cher's channel, it was, from what I gathered, he basically said that when he showed up, he did all that at the house, whatever. That's true. The girls did wake up, and he did put them in the car, bring them, and then when he got the survey, he was very surprised to find that Nicole Kessinger was at Survey with him, or not with him, but there, and she's the one when he was burying the kids or digging the hole. She went in the car and killed the kids and put them in the tanks.
That's
and that, that's what the reason I said at first, I go, this guy is nuts. But then I said, what little bit of truth is there to it? Because that kind of still would explain remember his comment of, I know nothing makes sense. What was she doing there?
What was she doing? That's right.
So is he thinking, what was she doing at Survey?
I didn't think about that.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, again, I take everything with a grain of salt that comes out of his mouth. And now we don't even know yet confirmed if that really came out of his mouth. So I want to preface that what I'm saying, I'm not buying completely. But if it's true that he said it.
If that is the newest one. And that's what's being thrown around out there, that is the newest one. But who knows,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's in store for this case, but I know what's in store for Dave tomorrow morning at 5, or tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern time. Poor old Dave is on AD. I could be in deep duties tomorrow. God knows. So
I sent orders over to AD to make sure he gets you good.
I could be in big duties tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting 24 hours in the life of me, I reckon. So God knows what he's going to ask me.
80's had her question. It says her question was deleted. I'm sorry. So I have heard that Google bots are deleting.
Yeah, they are. CBT had that problem on her channel the other day. It caused a lot of confusion. And we went back and looked, and I know the girls did, and it wasn't anybody deleting any comments about us, because the person that had their comments deleted was actually a mod, and as you know, mods can't delete other mods,
right?
At least on hers, other mods' comments. So it was just some kind of glitch or something.
I was over on True Cham's channel yesterday, dancing to her music that she plays, and I was having a test with the bots that they've got out there, and I actually typed Nicole Kessinger in the chat, and it was fine. Then I actually typed Kessinger by itself and was automatically deleted. So I don't know. I don't know. It's very, very interesting.
Wow. Yeah, that is. That's kind of. So they just deleted it because their last name was there. Wow.
Yeah, it was just the name. I mean, there are people that are writing hi, hello, or whatever, and they're getting deleted.
They may be playing with their algorithm, with their tech there. And
we know some of my subs are getting blocked for no reason.
Yeah, really. There's something going on.
Stargirl just got it in there, but.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is it was in a particular channel's chat. So they might be just hitting certain channels as opposed to hitting every channel. But what I did was I typed Kessinger by itself, and it actually got deleted.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes, Linda, that is very true. He did, after they took Shanann away, Dave said that he was going to stay there all night so the girls wouldn't be there alone.
He did. And that's part of his PTSD. I think that's absolutely destroyed him, because he was there when they came out of the tanks, and I broke down on my own channel the other day, thinking about what actually happened to the girls, and God only helped me if I was there, like what that poor man has been through, and dear.
He's the one that transferred Nico as well, right, to North Carolina. Yeah.
Yep. Yes, he did.
Oh my
He
goodness.
did. Yeah, the guy's in a. Yeah. So I can understand. And he was the one true guy that I feel was investigating the case more than anybody, and he was just the local detective in Frederick, and that's.
Have mad respect for him.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I wish that poor guy could get out everything he wants to, but it's tough when you have a career, a life you're built.
Yeah, and
you
it
can't. Yeah, there's things you just can't express and say. And I've heard that. That was one of the things my friend was telling me way back when we were having all these talks, when he was still talking to me, but when we were having all these talks about the case, he was telling me, he goes, you wouldn't believe, he goes, there are still people that are so distraught over this case and that they did not want this thing shut down. They were upset. There were people crying when they shut it down, and they weren't happy. And he said, like, one of them, Coder, who from the FBI, you notice he still hasn't talked at all to anyone ever.
Yep. And I just need to look at. Sorry, go, Larry. Go. It's all right. Seeking the Truth with Dave. I'm sorry if I'm off topic. This was from Samaya from South Africa. But are you on board with AD's new theory? Well, it's he had had coroner investigator on today, Dr. J, and she came on and they went through the whole all chloroform theory. Highly possible. What actually occurred, I don't know if I'm on board with it. Because I was in the middle of a chaotic thing here with Kimberly when all of that was actually happening. So I didn't really get to hear all of it. And then I went over there and explained what happened with Kim. So I didn't really get to hear all of it. But, yeah, it's highly probable. Who knows? I don't know. The chloroform could have actually been cause of death to a degree with the kids, because there was no fibers in the mouth, there was no fibers anywhere inside. But I don't do autopsies. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a coroner, as what Dr. J actually is. So I can't really comment any further on it because I don't know. That's all I can do.
And none of us, I think the main thing there is, don't know. None of us knows for sure what happened there in those 3.5 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours in that house. We don't know for sure. That's why I try to focus on the things we do know, which is, I would argue, I'd bet my right arm, NK was at that house that morning. What did she do? What did she know? Did she even know anything? Maybe she stopped there to get a loaf of bread, and she knew
crystal
nothing.
Even.
Right, a crystal, but whatever. My point is that all of that is possible for any of us to say. I don't believe that's the case. I believe, and I have my theories of others. However, we have to admit, all of us, that we do not know what happened for sure. But I am 99% sure she was at that house that morning. And again, what she did there, I don't know. Maybe Chris lied to her too. And she had to stop and get something, and then afterwards, but then that brings up the questions. Then why not just say it? Why lie about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you now. She didn't teleport from North Glen to Frederick. That's one thing she did not do. We cannot teleport yet. It may happen in the future, but we can't do it yet. She drove to Frederick, potentially, more than likely, during that 111-minute phone call. She hung up at 11:19 p.m. They went in the Minnie Mouse window at 11:20. His phone reconnects to Wi-Fi at 11:20. He then speaks to Shanann and says, "I'm very sorry, I fell asleep on the couch." Okay, so she's in that house, and then her phone pings in Frederick at 6:16 a.m. the next morning. She did not teleport to Frederick.
Well, I just thought of another theory type thing. Let's say it is possible. Again, all of these are possible, but I just thought of it. If his new so-called confession is true, where he said, what was she doing? She ended up being at Survey, and she killed the kids. Is it possible? Maybe. I mean, it is possible that, let's say she did do what Dave just said with that late night timeline, showed up at the house. Whatever happened in that house between the two of them and Shanann and the kids happened. Maybe Chris is telling partial truth here that he's not putting her in the house. I don't know why he would do that, though. But nonetheless, I'm just giving a theory here. And what he meant by what was she doing there was he was supposed to take the girls with him, take Shanann, get rid of Shanann. Maybe that 619 or whatever it was ping was actually her leaving the house and following him and heading out because he had just left a little earlier. And she said, I want to make sure he does this thing right. She followed out. So he was already there doing those texts because we see his timeline. When he first got there, he clearly didn't immediately jump out of the car and go and dig the hole because we see his text message. He was texting everybody, asking them where they were for quite a bit.
Well, he'd already been doing that prior to actually getting there. He had already started texting at 6:15, and at 6:53 he arrived.
I know that. But what I'm saying is based on that, maybe within about 20 minutes, because she was about 20 minutes behind him, 20, 30 minutes behind him, maybe all of a sudden he gets to the survey and thinking he's there and he's just going to, dig the hole and bury Shanann. And then maybe he's telling some truth that she ended up showing up behind him and killing the girls.
Yeah.
Evan's just saying it's all possible.
Anything's possible. But I believe two people disposed of the children, which is my... because she's not going to go up there twice. There's 28 steps to climb.
Well, that two people could be him and her.
That could be. It could be. Absolutely. It could be. So, who knows? He knows, and he's right behind me in that prison.
Let's go. Let's go take him down, Dave.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I want to say thank you, Kim, for everything today.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a live. You've done very well, and I'm very proud of you for stepping up to the plate because I'm pretty sure you didn't want to do it earlier today.
No, I was going to cancel this live.
Yeah, no, you did really great, Kim. So did obviously you, Dave, by helping out and doing what you did. I'm just honored to both of you for asking me to come up. I'm honored to be on your channel and to have you.
I'm very glad you're here. Thank you for being here.
No problem. Anytime you need anything, I told you, contact me.
And very likewise as well.
Thank you.
All right, chat. I want to say,
Dave, are you having an after party, or are you going to, Mary? I like to
not
call
today.
it when there's so many people in chat. If
I know there's 338 here, but I'm not today. I'm so sorry. I need to spend a little bit of time with Deb, and we're going to sit down and watch. I think it's called Your Honor. I think it is. It's got Walter White's in it, so we're going to sit down and watch that TV show tonight. So,
with me, and thank you, Larry. I appreciate you guys.
No problem.
Everybody that showed up, and all the mods, y'all are awesome, man. But yeah, if anybody in chat is a creator and they want to do an after party, speak now, forever hold your peace.
Chat will be up for a couple more minutes after the live, and I'm sure Kim will be looking into it. All right. So apart from that, from Australia, I'm signing out. Huru, Kim, and Huru, Larry, and thanks everybody in chat for being so kind, except for those ferals that popped in earlier. See you later.
See you later. And from beautiful upstate New York, I'll bid farewell to Kim. Thank you again so much. You're an absolute class act.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. So I hope you have a good night. Deep breath. I promise you'll be okay. And if you need anything, contact me.
All right, hon. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. Yes, I did almost cancel because it's just been one of those days, sitting here watching the email, watching the strikes, and oh my goodness. It's just like, you get frustrated. You can imagine. Once you think everything's going good, and then there you go. Okay. Paula just said Maya's live, and if anybody's not familiar with who she is, somebody can put her link in there. She's awesome. She's a really nice lady. Maya's digs deep into this case. So, okay, guys, thank you all so much for hanging with me tonight. And until the next random pop up, or our Wednesdays members only lives. Just be looking for the videos, and I will be making the others public ASAP. Okay. Thank you all so much. And until next time, this is Unjustified.